once you do type stuff up, you use Emacs.
Yeah.
I use Emacs, obviously the superior editor.
Of course.
You let me just ask the ridiculous futuristic question, because Emacs has been around forever.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think in 100 years we will still have Emacs and Vim? Or like pick a let's say 50, 100 years, 20 years.
Yeah. No, I mean, whenever you're doing anything in Linux, you're spending a lot of time editing little config files and scripts and stuff, and you need to be able to pop in and out of editing those things, and it needs to work. Like even if the windowing GUI is dead, and all you've got is like a command line, you to get out of that problem, you might need to enter an editor and alter a file. So I think on that level, there'll always have to be sort of very simple. Well, Emacs isn't very simple, but you know what I mean. There have to be basic editors that you can use from either the command line or a GUI, just for administering systems. Now, how widespread they'll be, there's a certain amount of what's the story of there's the American folktale of the guy the hammer guy who drives the railroad spikes, John Henry, trying to keep up with the steam hammer, and eventually the steam hammer wins because he can't drive the spikes fast enough. So there's a sense in which Microsoft, like, who knows how much they've invested in code, Visual Studio or Apple with Xcode. So they've put huge amounts of money into enhancing their IDEs. And Emacs, in theory, can duplicate all of those features by, if you just have enough Linux hackers writing Emacs Lisp macros. But, at some point, it's going to be hard to maintain that level of to keep up feature for feature.
The interesting thing about Emacs just is lasted a long time.
Yeah,
and I think you talked about there's certain fads. Certainly in the software engineering space, and it's interesting to think about technologies that sort of last for a very long time, and just kind of being in the, what is it? How do they get by? It's like the cockroaches of software, or the bacteria of software, or something. Like this base thing that everybody's just became reliant on, and they just outlast everything else and slowly adjust with the times, with a little bit of a delay, with a little bit of customization by individuals, kind of that, but they're always there in the shadows, and they outlast everybody else. And I wonder if that might be the story for a lot of technologies, especially in the software space.
Shell scripts, all that stuff. You can't run the modern world without a bunch of shell scripts, booting up machines and running things. So that is going to be a hard thing to replace.
And then tech for typesetting that you use, you said.
For when I want to print it out, I just have some simple macros that I use. But then I have to the publisher put their foot down, and they want it in Word format now. So years ago I wrote some macros to convert, and this time, what did I do?
Copy paste?
No, I use sort of regular expressions. So I was to do italics in, you put it in curly brackets and you do \it, and then you type what you want to type. And that's how you get italics in tech. So you can create a regular expression that'll look for some text between curly brackets preceded by \it, and then instead convert that to italics. And Word will do that Word, if you go deep enough into its search and replace
You
UI,
can do regular expressions.
is just regexes. Yeah.
It's funny that you did that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there's tools that help you with that kind of thing, but the task is sufficiently simple to where you can do a much better job than anybody else's tool can.
Yeah. Yeah. So
This is
that
a fascinating process.
works fine for me. Yeah. And it keeps you from messing around with formatting.
Yeah.
Like, oh, what if I put this chapter heading, in, a sans serif font? It's just classic wanking. And so those options are closed off in what I'm doing.